Ancient Hebrew culture was 100% patriarchal. Today, the patriarchy is regarded as an evil, destructive thing. The truth is, the patriarchy is the reason why we have a functional society at all, and it's something we have lived under for thousands of years. Patriarchy involves the man and his household, which he built. It starts with himself and is extended through his seed. I want to emphasize his seed. When a man and a woman come together to create a child, that child belongs to the man. It does not belong to the woman. The man's seed is his own. What happens with childbirth and bearing children is in every way similar to the gardener and his garden. The word husbandman is a term used in gardening to refer to the one in charge of bringing forth fruits of the garden, making sure the seeds grow to maturity. There is no point to marriage if one does not desire children. If you just want someone to be with, you don't need marriage for that. The purpose of marriage is to establish a genetic legacy. Outside of this, marriage is unnecessary. Quite frankly, getting married just to get laid or not be lonely is the stupidest thing you can do. When Paul said it's better to marry than to burn with passion, he was choosing the lesser of two evils. Better to have your sexual needs met in a lawful marriage than to be a whoremonger. He also emphasized it's better to not touch a woman or get married at all, and stressed those who do will have trouble in their lives. The trouble comes from entering the institution ill-prepared and with erroneous intentions. When a gardener plants a seed into the soil, what that soil produces belongs to him. It is the gardener, the husbandman, who cultivates the soil to bear produce and tends to the soil once the seed sprouts so that it matures. The sprout is akin to childbirth. An infant is a sprout which must be brought to maturity. Water, proper sunlight, and cultivating the land is what will allow the sprout to grow into what the gardener intended when he planted the seed. I must stress the point of there being intention. A depraved society is born from children who are accidents or the cost of doing business. Many would push back on the man having full authority over the child growing in the woman's body, but it is very much the case. The soil does not own the seed growing in it, and the woman has no authority over the child growing in her. She merely bears the seed. Soil cannot talk. It can't complain about the bills or not having enough money to go buy a new purse. The reason the Most High allowed a woman to speak is so she could be a suitable helper to the man. The woman would not be a good helper to the man if there was a barrier in communication. If man was made to be a sentient being who could communicate, then his suitable helper also needed to be a sentient being who could communicate. The Most High couldn't find a suitable companion for Adam amongst the animals, so he made a special being for him. Paul mentioning how a woman will be saved through childbearing becomes less of an odd statement when we have this understanding. Paul had a true understanding of what a woman's function was. The greatest thing a woman can do in this world is help produce new life. The Most High believed in this so greatly that he made a law where if a man who is married dies with no children, the next of kin is commanded to take that woman as a wife and bear children for that man's house. Genetic legacy was of great importance in ancient Hebrew culture. In this culture, we understand a person's lineage determined by their father. Reading the historical narrative of Ruth, we see this woman who had a husband who died, who was later passed on to a man who brought up children for the dead man's house in Boaz. This child was then given to Naomi as the heir of the deceased man. Boaz planted the seed in the soil to bring forth fruit. The book of Chronicles starts off as a patrilineal genealogy. Women aren't mentioned here, other than in passing. A great gardener isn't known by his soil, but by his ability to bring forth good produce out of the soil. He is the one who does all the work to take that seedling from sprout to maturity. He makes for good soil as a man looks for a quality woman to begin his genetic legacy. Through sexual union, he places the seed in the soil for that seed to sprout after 9 months. He then cultivates the land in providing a high quality of life for the child and the mother to raise that child to be a mature and contributing member of society. Single mother homes are a failure because this is a situation where there is no one there to cultivate the soil for the seed to properly grow. The soil can't do it by itself. The man, the husbandman, must be there to make it happen. A man must have dominion over the woman, the soil, for the soil to properly nurture the seed. A poor gardener will produce bad fruit. There are many men who did not leave their family, but have done a horrendous job of leading their families. They allow the soil, the woman, to lead. This has led to disastrous results. When Paul said a woman must have authority on her head when speaking of head coverings, he wasn't speaking of a law. He was defending a custom of establishing authority over a woman with the symbol of her head being covered. It was Paul's opinion. It was something some at that time were doing that Paul agreed with, but it was never a mandate. Same thing with saying it was a shame for a woman to speak in the church. Women can certainly speak in the church, and even be leaders of churches if they choose to be. Paul was speaking against belligerent women seeking to usurp the authority of the male church leaders, and in this situation, women needed to remain silent and, if applicable, adhere to their husband's instructions. Paul pointed out this being found in Torah law, laid out in Numbers chapter 30, of a woman being subject to her husband's authority. King Ahasuerus established an edict for his kingdom on women obeying their husbands after Queen Vashti disobeyed the order of the king to present herself to him. This is about establishing authority and order. The soil left to its own devices will only destroy the seed. A goodly garden is one brought forth with intention. This is not about hating or oppressing women. It's about bringing women back to their original intent for existing, and also bringing men back to their original intent for existing. Jesus said the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. The Most High gave us the Sabbath for our benefit and purpose, not the other way around. The Sabbath is not a taskmaster rule, but a mandate of mercy, a day of rest from our labor and care for our neighbor. This is exemplified in Jesus healing a man on the Sabbath and defending his right to do so. In the same way, the woman was made for man, not the man for the woman. A woman who is barefoot and pregnant is fulfilling her highest duty. Feminism has attempted to diminish this, and it has resulted in women who are at best irrelevant and worst, destructive. Nevertheless, Eve took the forbidden fruit because of Adam's weakness, and this scenario has been repeated 1,000,000 times in this feminist era. Leadership is not something men can opt out of. They can't say how leadership is not for them. As a man, if leadership isn't for you, respect isn't for you. A man who fails to lead is a man who will lead in failure. All men are in the game. There are no spectators. You as a male are born with a responsibility and expectation to lead, and we all must figure out a way to make this work for us. The women have tried to take our place and have failed because that's not their place. The disrespect we get from women comes from us not taking our rightful place. There is no passport you can get to a mystical land where the woman will accept you for being a deficient male. Women are all the same, whether they're from the West, the East, the North, or the South. There is no safe haven for those looking to circumvent manhood. We're naturally stronger than the woman because we have a much bigger responsibility. The Most High told both the man and the woman to be fruitful and multiply, and to subdue the earth and take dominion over it. A woman's role in this is to bear the man's seed and nurture his genetic legacy. A man's role in this is to take hold of the earth's resources and forge civilization out of it. The family and society are broken because neither the man nor the woman are playing their assigned roles. The woman will always follow the man, and the man will always be the leader. Therefore, the man must set the tone and set the standard for the woman to follow. If there is no man setting the standard, then we repeat Eve in the garden over and over and over again. The Most High gave the standard to Adam, and he failed to uphold it with his wife. Mankind and the world were cursed because of it. We in the so-called black community are living through this right now. A quote from the 19th degree of the 5% lesson states, "If a civilized person doesn't perform his duty, which is to teach civilization to others, he shall be punished with severe punishment." It has been demonstrated, if a man does not perform his duty to lead, the people suffer great suffering.